Welcome to the Job Shop Show, where we talk with the owners, suppliers, partners, and customers of custom manufacturers. Listen and learn the secrets of top-performing job shops, the tools, techniques, and backgrounds that have made them successful, all in the quest of raising the bar for custom manufacturing. I'm your host, Jay Jacobs. This episode is sponsored by Paperless Parts, connecting buyers and suppliers of custom manufactured parts. The Paperless platform is a secure, ITAR-compliant, cloud-based manufacturing system for suppliers that reduces the amount of time spent on sales, estimating, quoting, administration, and order processing. It offers seamless integration with the accounting and ERP software tools that shops already use, such as QuickBooks, E2, and JobBoss. Paperless Parts was founded with a mission to make manufacturing more accessible by streamlining the quote-to-cash process. Spend less time quoting and more time selling. Shazam! Hey, Job Shop listeners. We have a great conversation for you today. We are live at the world headquarters of ACP Laser and Waterjet, and that is in Woburn, Massachusetts. Here with owner Carlos Fernandez, and we will be chatting about some of the challenges he faced starting up a shop, the different equipment that he uses, as well as what he's looking in the future, as well as some of the ways that Google AdWords has helped him grow his business to where it is today. So welcome to the Job Shop Show, Carlos.
Hey, Jay. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. So I was just out at FabTech. This is November 2019.
Yep.
You were out there as well. What brought you to FabTech?
Just looking for what's new out there, what we can be looking for new technology, robotics.
Yeah.
Always looking for new stuff, even stuff that doesn't apply to what we do today, but we can always use in the near future.
What caught your interest?
I've been going to FabTech for 3-4 years now, and it's almost like you get hooked, where every year has a new technology coming over on our field. And automation is usually what catches my attention, trying to bridge the gap between people and machine.
Right.
And that's how we can grow and compete, having better machines.
Did you buy anything?
Not yet. Not yet.
But you got a shopping list for Christmas?
We have a good-sized shopping list.
Great. So before we plunge into some of my questions, I want to make sure this one gets answered. And again, you were just at FabTech. How else do you learn about best practices, new equipment? What's going on out there? Where do you get your ideas?
I usually do a lot of research online myself, and also through some magazines that come through, especially when you go to FabTech. They sign you up for a bunch of magazines, and I take a quick look through them. But usually when we have an issue, I'll just go online and do my research as much as I can from competitors, from bigger companies, and what's new on machine manufacturers. So I do my own homework to see what's out there to make our life easier.
How about salespeople stopping in? Are they a valuable resource for you, or more of a waste of time?
More of a waste of time, I would say.
So how, if I'm a salesperson stopping in to see a shop owner, how can I make that time more valuable for you?
I would say if you bring in new technology that I haven't seen online, which is tough these days with the internet and YouTube, you can basically get all your answers online.
Right.
Or if it's just the right moment that we are looking for a product or a service and that person comes in. So it could work, but it's not. Most of the time it doesn't, because it's just trying to sell something we have or we already solved that issue. So it's tough finding a good balance there.
Is there one salesperson who you will always see, or is it you're just looking online more and not relying on the sales people?
We're definitely looking online more. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I love about your story is that you came to the U.S. in 2001.
Correct.
1 month before
September.
9/11. Yeah. So maybe you could give us a little bit of your background before you came to the country, as well as what you did once you got here and your journey to the point where you started to want to become a shop owner, or perhaps I was there all along, but just tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I believe that where we are today is something we never thought about it. When we came in to as students, English as a second language, and I was in architecture. I was doing bachelor in Brazil, back in Brazil. That's where I come from, and we came over to improve our English and also take some courses on architecture and urban architecture.
So you were still a student.
I was still a student in 2001. Okay. Then I dropped out of school in Brazil, and what happened is it was a progress. We came over. I came over with Patricia, which was our business partner, and we had a plan just to stay a couple of years, improve our English, and do all the courses we could, go back home, and keep going with life. But we fell in love with the American lifestyle and the opportunity we had growing. We saw us growing a lot more here than back home, where a lot of issues we have there nowadays and before when we came. But we started doing what I would say most Brazilian immigrants that don't have a college degree or come with a job would do, where you go through the restaurant business. You work in restaurants. You're gonna deliver pizza. We did newspaper, so we did all kinds of jobs that you could possibly do to pay your bills and get your classes, pay for school.
Right.
But within 2-3 years, I got a job as a carpenter. Then that's what I did before I opened up the shop. And that was one of the things I like, because we're building houses, remodeling, and that was more in line with what I was doing back home. And about 6 years into carpentry, same company, loved to work there, and loved what we used to do. The boss and coworkers were really nice, but I always wanted to be my own boss. With that, there's a lot of challenges behind that. But we started the company in 2009. Used to have a business partner, and the only reason we chose WaterJet was he used to work on a metal distributor that had water jets, and they were just running 24/7. So we got together. We wanted to open up a business, and that's how we chose WaterJet as a starting point for our business. And in 2009, we were able to get that open with Mitsubishi WaterJet.
So let's step back just a little bit. Before we started, you shared a little bit about it was a pretty high-end crew, and you guys did everything.
Everything. Yeah. We used to do, on the construction side, we go from foundation to the roof. We did everything.
There were just 4 of you?
There was only 4. And we were doing multi-million-dollar houses, so it was high-end remodeling.
What lessons did you learn there that you apply today in your business?
So I would say the two most important is quality. First one's quality, and then schedule, because everybody has a schedule. Even for what we do in manufacturing, you have a due date. You have to be out of there, or we have to be done with parts. But we have to be done with parts, and they have to have quality. We cannot just send a part out that's not deburred or it's poorly packaged. Those things will count. So we did everything from cleaning after ourselves more than anything on construction.
Sure.
We kept the schedule on time, and we kept the quality the best we could do. If it wasn't good for us, it wasn't good for our customer. So we had to redo it, or it wouldn't go through. And that's the thing with manufacturing. It has to be good. Because you have,
or it's coming back.
Nobody's going to call, hey, you did a very good job, but I don't. Usually calling you back with some issues you had, and we make sure that we don't have that. We make sure that before it goes out the door, we catch any mistakes, which is going to happen. But we want to make sure we catch inside and we fix that and we send to the customer so we have no issues going forward. But quality and lead time. Price can be one of those things too, but I think pricing is not too critical when you have a deadline, a quick turnaround. And
So, like many owners who have started shops,
yeah,
your journey has not been a straight line.
No.
And in the beginning, you had the idea. Who was your partner originally?
yeah. Well, it used to be Alex.
Alex. So you and Alex came together, and Patricia,
Correct.
that's where the ACP and ACP WaterJet comes from. Okay.
And advanced cutting process, so you can use both.
Okay, great.
So we have
Advanced cutting process.
Yeah, you definitely want to start with an A because you'd be on top of the list.
Sure.
We didn't have any B, so we had to go with C, and P was just there.
So you and Alex and Patricia had an idea.
Correct.
We want to get into WaterJet cutting.
Correct.
But it's an idea. Maybe, did you write a business plan?
We did wrote a business plan, but regardless of what you write on paper is different on life.
Right. And so you didn't have any space, so you needed to get space.
Correct.
You needed to get the financing to get a WaterJet.
Correct.
Did you get a bank loan initially, or did you just rely on savings?
So what we had, we rely on credit cards, and we still kept our full-time jobs to pay the bill, and that's how we were able to get the company going for the first 2 years until I took over the business. But it was so we needed a company that will finance us for the machine. And regardless of how good your business plan is, without any customers, it's going to be tough. And 2009 was a recession year, so it was really tough getting any loan approved. But before you get a machine, you need a place, because they will not even think about lending you.
Where are we going to ship it?
Yeah, so you got to have a shipping a warehouse. So we got the warehouse first. We bought our forklift first, lifting equipment and some other equipment to start, even before the machine started. So basically, we got the warehouse in December. Machine came in April. So we have those 3-4 months to get everything ready.
That's
so they could approve us.
Big commitment without any customers.
With 0 customers. Yeah, it was challenging. It was challenging for sure.
So I wanted you to relay this, because for 2 types of people who may be listening. One, if you are thinking about opening a shop, some of the things that you're sharing and will share it's all part of the journey of making a shop successful, going from 0 customers to having lots of customers, going from 0 revenue to revenue that is profitable. But also for myself, I bought a very small shop, and when I mean small, one person came along with it, and it was about, I think, 6,000 square feet sheet metal shop.
Yeah.
And many of the shop owners who are listening started the same way that you and I did. So it reminds me of, it's sort of almost like having kids. You don't always remember the bad things, but the sleepless nights. But there's definitely sleepless nights when you're starting a shop. And those are the things, though, that build the character, build the foundation of the business. And it's fun, as I'm chatting with you, thinking about some of the things that I had to go through, and I want to find out some more. So your first shop, how many square feet was that?
It was 2,000 square feet.
2,000 square feet.
Yeah. Big enough for a machine.
You shoehorned in a WaterJet.
Yeah, so we had a 5x10 WaterJet and all the things that come with it, which is your abrasive removal system, your water recycling system, your pump. So it took close to half of the warehouse just for the machine. And then you got to have space for your storage, your metal, and your office. So some of those things that you got to have.
And 2009, the 3 of you, you're working part-time?
Correct. So we're working full-time on our jobs and coming at night and weekends. But when we started, we basically have no customers. So we start online marketing and looking at how we can get people.
Right. How did you get your customers?
So it was online marketing that we did. We also look
when
into,
you say online marketing,
I would say you have Google, which was a big part, but Google is easy to work now. 10 years ago wasn't as easy. I mean, you send an email to Google and your ad does not comply with the terms of Google and your ad is blocked. So you have no idea why.
Right.
Today, they call you every month. How are we doing? Can we change something? But 10 years ago, Google was not the Google of today where you can get your answers. You have to go through an email and you have to hope for that they come back and get that issue. But we had to go through online marketing, which is Google, some other venues like Manta. I don't know if Manta is still around, ThomasNet. So we did some of those companies. We also had, we built a website and we had to do, we used to fax. We used to use fax a lot because there was still a lot of people that would read faxes and email. We would just go online and email as much people as we could. We go through a list A to Z and we never bought a list of one of those lists, but we were just emailing.
Do you remember
prospective customers?
Do you remember your first order? Your first customer?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, it was, I don't remember when it was within the first month, but it was definitely a good thing to have. And then it's your first order. You have to make sure that, again, you have quality and lead time. But at that time, your lead time doesn't really matter because you don't have anybody else.
You want the parts tomorrow.
You can have the part done the same day and deliver to your customer. That's how busy you are. But we still, I believe, that first order is still one of our customers nowadays, almost 11 years later. Actually, most of the people that we did orders on that first year, which wasn't a lot, they are still our customers to this day. So that proves that quality, lead time. And I think the other thing is being honest with your customer.
Yes.
If you can't do it, just say you can't do it, but you can do it in a certain way. That's what I see through vendors that we had to go through, and probably you have to go through.
Yes.
I think just being honest with your customer base is better than it's better you not do it and he finds somebody that can do that job for that particular reason. Then you say you commit to it. He has a deadline, and you cannot meet the deadline. So we never did that way.
That's a great point because we all want to please the customer. So it is so easy to say yes.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to say no. But saying no gains you more credibility in the long run because you are true to your word.
Yeah, because the worst thing you can possibly have is a customer calling you about his parts, and you have no idea when that's going to be done. And we've been through, over 10 years now. We have vendors that you call and you don't know what's going to happen. And I never want to be that vendor. I want to be the vendor that you have a due date on is going to be on that date or before that date. So we were honest with the customers, even when it was too big or something we couldn't do. It said we just can't do it. It's just not that we have some other orders, and your order actually takes longer than you want it to be ready for. So honesty with the customers definitely pays off.
So let's fast forward to today. Give us the thumbnail sketch of ACP.
Yeah, so today we focus on quick turnaround, short runs. We also have some longer run jobs, but I think we've seen more business coming in on jobs that require a lead time with less than 5 days, where you prototype, and even small runs, you still want it quicker. And that's where we fit in with those customers, where they are prototyping companies, or they are not prototyping, but they building assemblies, and some components of those assemblies need parts right away.
So high mix, low volume.
High mix, low volume.
Water jet cutting, laser cutting.
Correct. And we
bending.
Sheet metal, yeah.
Sure. And how big's the facility today?
Right now we are 6,000 square feet.
And you run one long shift?
We run one long shift from 6:30 to 7.
Gotcha. So Alex is not with you today. Maybe you could tell the story of how that evolved.
So we started 2009. So by the end of 2009 was a very slow year.
Mm-hmm.
We were just starting, getting customers, and but we made it through. So the second year came in, and we basically doubled sales on the second year. So we were able to get more customers, repeat orders. We're talking 2010. Economy wasn't doing great either, but it was getting somewhere better than 2009. There were a few shops closing as well, so we take some of that business from other people that could not handle the recession. And at some point we close to getting to the third year, we needed somebody to be at the shop full time because we were getting to the point where we needed people receiving orders and shipping and quoting. Because to me, the quoting process is very important. You don't want to make your customer wait. Because otherwise he'll look, if he's in a rush, he's going to go with somebody else.
We saw that all the time. We could document that if we responded to a quote within an hour, within 10 minutes, within 24 hours, the faster we responded, the higher the win rate.
Yeah.
It so correlates to response time.
So the response time was important, but you have to be there. You have to be there to get your material pricing, you get all the factors to create your quote. So what happened is somebody had to quit their jobs.
So somebody had to go full-time.
One of those between the two of us had to go full-time. And at the time, we both had young kids. We had a newborn. Our daughter wasn't even 1 year old. And Alex already had his daughter close to 2 years old. So it was a tough time because you had a safety net, whereas your job, you can pay your bills, but you also have a company that's growing. So at some point we sat down and we had a talk where we would either find somebody to buy the company as is, which it wasn't worth much, or some of us quit our daytime jobs and have somebody support when needed, not if needed, but when needed. Okay, we need to create a salary, and if the company cannot get to that point, you have to step in. So we came out to the, fast forwarding. I had the intention to buy the company, and he wanted to sell.
So it worked out. You both got what you wanted.
Really well. Even though I had a newborn, I really believed the company. We doubled sales in 1 year with 0 customers. And I knew that if I spend more time marketing, we would be able to succeed. And so we were able to make an agreement where I would pay him. And we had a business evaluation.
So you went out and had a third party.
We went third party to get a pricing for what we had because we wanted to do everything by the book. So we had that number, and the only way we could do it is by installments. So we got an agreement that we made is X amount of money per month for a couple of years, I think. And that's how we've been through. He accepted, and we never missed one installment. And we were able to pay all the bills since then. So it was a very a very tough decision to make. Because we were buying a company that still wasn't making enough money to keep my family. And we also had to pay installment to pay our 50%.
Did you or Patricia have to work outside of the company after that?
I thought about it, getting a job at night.
Yes.
And Patricia was one of the main factors I did not. It's just that. So if you believe your company, you don't have to work on another company. Just let's do what we can to get this company going without going at night. So spend your extra time at night and do some more work. So Patricia was definitely a big.
So you reinvested in yourself and in the company.
Correct. And again, was researching online what my competitors were doing, what they had for machines, what machines were out there, visiting customers. And we had customers as far as at that time we had Connecticut. So I would go to Connecticut. I'll go anywhere we had customers to see what they were doing, how we were doing, and trying to improve. But in online marketing, I think without online marketing, Google or any other of those venues, we wouldn't be here.
Google AdWords were critical for Rapid. And even at the end, we spent quite a bit of money there.
Yeah, and today you have Facebook, you have some other venues you can spend a lot less money and get your company out there. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing some of that, Instagram, Facebook, and some other venues for online marketing. But I don't think you can stop even when you have enough work. It's tough to stop.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of shop owners start looking for work when they need it, and that's the wrong time to be looking for work. You have to be looking for work and prioritizing new customers when you're busy.
Correct.
Because that's laying the foundation for when you really do need them.
Yeah. So what we did, even like this year, when we are really busy, we just lower our budget on marketing. That way we don't have as many new RFQs or more jobs that will impact our customer database right now. So we're always trying to grow slow. And keep them happy as well. And we have been doing that since we started.
I used to describe it as my foot was on the accelerator, and when we were busy, I would let up on the accelerator of sales and marketing, and when I sensed that times were getting slower, I would push down hard on it.
Yeah.
But it's a fine balance of going at the same speed all the time.
Yeah, because you have a week that's a little bit slower, then you get some more of that marketing done. And then on the next week, everything comes together. And you have to make sure that you can get all that work done on time. But marketing is something you can't stop, regardless of budget. I would just control budget based on how busy your shop is.
Yeah.
That way you can still because if you're busy, most likely everybody will too. And if you're offering a service where people are 3-4 weeks out and you need only a part or two that needs to be done in a day or two, we are here. That's how we got in. And if they like it, they might come back to us only on rush jobs, which we've seen that. We have customers that only come to us. They have all the water jet houses or metal fabrication houses. They do all their work. But when it comes to rush orders, they come to us, where we get those orders completed where they need it. And so we're not their main supplier, but we are one of their suppliers for rush work.
Getting back to your timeline, you started out with WaterJet.
Correct.
Then we'll talk a little bit about your equipment in a bit, but you got into laser cutting when?
Laser cutting was about five years ago, but we went from we started with WaterJet, then we got a press brake.
Okay, the press brake came before laser. The main reason is we could not get finance for a laser because lasers are a more expensive machine. But we wanted to diversify. We wanted to offer another service to go along with the WaterJet. So we got a press brake. So press brake comes about 2 years before the laser. And then the laser.
Then the laser came.
Why? Do you consider the laser diversifying, or what did the laser bring to the table that the WaterJet didn't?
So the laser made us able to compete on the sheet metal market, where the WaterJet is very slow. Even if you stack sheets, because some engineers or companies want you to stack the sheets, but you still cannot keep up with the laser speed. And laser will keep the same quality, same tolerance as the WaterJet or better. But we needed to get the sheet metal work done on the laser. And that's the only way we could get through some doors. We already had the press brake, so it was a perfect combo, the laser and press brake at a time. But the laser came only after because of financials. We could not get approved to get a laser.
How much did your first laser cost you?
The first one, we got a pre-owned laser for under $200,000.
Oh,
so it wasn't bad at all.
That's not bad, yeah.
But when we were looking at it, there was no pre-owned. They were around $400 to $500. Basically, about the same.
We spent about $500,000 on each of our first two lasers.
Yeah. So And today with automation, you close to $1 million on the machine. So you have to have the work or have the capability to find work. So you got both. For us, the machine always comes first, then the work later. I think because we started that way. So we always get a machine. We got a press brake without any bending jobs or any contracts. Then we advertise that service. Then we got customers for both services or just the press brake. Then same thing with the lasers. We knew some jobs we were doing on water jet could be done on a laser, either sheet metal work or some lighter gauge steel. And we were doing the water jet because our customers liked our work. It was not a high quantity of parts, so it was still okay price-wise. But at the point where we need to go 500 plus parts or even 100 plus, depending on the part size, the laser is the only way to go.
Right.
It's price point.
We talked about some of the challenges. Obviously, financing is a huge challenge. You're growing 20 to 30% a year.
Correct.
What are some of the other challenges that you have faced or are facing that someone who's looking to start a job shop may think about, but not really think about, or not even be aware that is going to be a challenge?
Yeah, I think the challenge everybody has now is labor, finding the right people to work, and not just. I think the work ethic and common sense. It's a little hard to find. You can find people to work, but it's
can't teach common sense.
You cannot teach common sense, and that's big. But most people that work here now, they started with no experience at all. They never work on sheet metal or water jet. We train them, so they have. I would say they have pretty good common sense, and they because you have to be safe. That's one thing, and you can get hurt. These sheet metal machines, you're lifting 1,000-pound sheets, so you have to be really careful. You have to think about it, not just put a sheet on the table, start cutting. So I would say labor is one of them. Then at the point we are now, we're looking into automation. We're looking at cobots. That's one thing we saw at FabTech, where you can have machine tending robots for your press brake or even your tapping arm, where they're going to be a little bit slower than your employee for sure, because your employee does that a lot quicker. But they can run 24 hours a day, nonstop. And that's where we want to get in as soon as possible, so we can get used to the technology. We can have a cobot doing welding, that's something we don't do it on in house. We can have the cobot doing tapping, and we can also do machine tending. We have a job that we run a laser now that we're cutting panels, and that we can have a cobot just loading and loading those panels without a shuttle table.
Right.
Because one of the challenges we also face is space. I mean, New England's very expensive to rent space or buy space.
So we get a chance to walk around your shop before, and it's pretty full right now. Are you looking at more space?
Yeah. So we're looking at two different. We're looking to buy our building. Buying a building is tough because you either find too big of a building that it wouldn't be feasible for us. And the other venue we're trying to go is just building a warehouse, a pretty straightforward warehouse. We're looking to get between 15,000, 20,000 square feet to go from here. Because I think within another 5 years, that's where we're going to be size-wise. If you go from a 6 to 10, we might be okay for 1 or 2 years. But looking for the next 5 years, the way we're growing is we're going to be in the same situation right now, where we can manage, because what will happen is we were selling the larger machines and getting smaller machines. So we have more throughput. We have more machines, more cutting heads now with the same space. We also reduce the size of the sheet on our inventory. So we still have the same variety, but they are smaller sheets.
So I want to just circle back when we bought our first building. So we were in a building that I called a dungeon. I think the guys who worked with me would agree that it was pretty much like that in the summertime. We had to let everyone go home early on really hot days because it would get in the high 90s in the shop. Yeah. And we looked at a 25,400 square foot building, the standard boxes that were in Nashua. And originally, we were going to lease out a portion of the building, but by the time the whole process worked out and we looked at our workflow, we said, even though we're paying more money and we don't need the space today, it really makes sense not to lease, because moving equipment around, sheet metal equipment, water jet equipment,
they're all big.
And you just don't move lasers because they don't run the same after you move them.
Correct.
So we decided that the whole space should be ours and we would grow into it. And I came to think of things like that as essentially, if you believe in your business, the extra space, paying the rent is almost insurance for growth.
Correct.
And once I had that mindset of insurance for growth, it made me comfortable having extra space as long as the cash flow supported it.
Correct.
But then it also gave me a mindset that there's other investments that I would want to make that with the orders that I had today, the revenue I had today, maybe the people, that it wouldn't make sense to bring them in-house, or get a bigger building. But that's insurance for growth, because the last thing you want to do is, when you're growing, is disappoint your customers and turn people away because you just don't have the capacity to make parts for them.
Yeah, and that's where we are now. I was talking to my realtor this morning and said, well, we have plans to build a 20,000 square feet so we can lease 5 or 10,000 out of that building. But I was thinking the same thing, where with 10,000 will solve my problem now. So I'd be done. So 5 years from now, I'm going to be struggling for another 5 or 10,000 square feet. So it will most likely just build a 20, just like you said, have the warehouse built anyways at 20,000 square feet, and just I'm pretty sure it's going to be full quicker than we were planning.
You also are adjusting the size of the parts that you're making, and you said that you're going smaller. And this goes back to what you were saying earlier about saying no to the things that aren't the best for the business. And essentially you're saying no to big parts, which it's easy to say yes if you've got the machinery, which you do in-house. But the laser that I saw on the floor, you could probably, it's a Trump laser. It's got is it a 5x10 or 6x12?
5x10.
So it looked like you could probably fit 3 of the IPG lasers in the same space.
Yeah.
So yes, there's material storing and other things, but the IPG can only handle a 4x4 sheet.
Correct.
So you're constraining your part size, but it's a trade-off. Okay, I will lose some larger part business. I might lose some efficiencies on working with larger sheets, but now I have more optionality with the space. So going small is a strategy for you that I see, is where you are deliberately saying no, but it sounds like that's the one that you've determined is the right for your growth in the future.
Correct.
Can you talk about what that also means, though, by going smaller, some of the other ramifications that are flowing through the shop?
Yeah, because what happens is high mix, small quantities of parts. And we have next day orders. We have next day rush 2 to 3 days and 4 to 5 days. So by having more cutting heads, we can do those a lot quicker than larger. For the building we are now, we wouldn't be able to do it that way. Have more cutting heads, special laser. Now we have 3 lasers and 2 water jets looking for the 3rd water jet. But before we have the floor plan that we have now, we used to have 2 larger water jets, 2 6x12s.
Oh, okay.
And we haven't lost jobs because of the machine size limitations. Because we were looking at, okay, we're bringing in a full sheet of aluminum that's 12 feet long. moving that sheet of aluminum in our shop is tough. Instead of a 4x4. A 4x4 with a pallet jack, we put it anywhere. And if it's a sheet of 1/8 aluminum, my guy can just grab it without using the crane. So he'd be a lot quicker. By the time you start cutting that 50 part on the large trump, I'm done with that on the IPG. Just because my guy didn't need a crane or forklifts. He just go to the rack, grab that sheet, put it on the machine.
You may have to load the sheets more often. You
Correct.
may pay a little more for the material.
Yeah.
But you gain it in the totality of the process.
Correct. And but having more space, the one thing we'll do is we could have a large system with automation that can load and load and a tower system.
You keep going back to automation, Carlos.
Automation, I think, is especially for sheet metal. Water jet, it's tough to automate. There was a company in the U.S. that had automation, which was Bystronic. They had a load similar to the lasers, where they have shuttles.
But you're talking automation that's provided by the manufacturer. But with some of the cobots that you probably saw at the show, you could come up with your own solution, and that would potentially give you a competitive advantage over other water jet.
That's true. People. Yeah. So with the cobots, we could probably do the same as load and load smaller sheets. So if I have an order that will take a few hours to do on a 4x4, but I can divide that into a 24x24. A cobot could be a possibility where I have a stack of sheets that are 24x24, and that cobot's loading and unloading. You pre-tab them and just unload and go to the next job.
Right.
But you can do a lot. I mean, automation is things that it's been in my head, but when you come back from FabTech, you see everything so big. And you come in to this 6,000 square foot space.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, how can I do that? And the only way
Did you see that 15,000 watt laser at the show?
Oh, yeah. 15, 12, 10. They are just
it was crazy.
Nonsense.
Yeah. Did you see the plate that they cut with that 15,000?
No.
It was, I think, 3 inches thick.
Yeah.
It was amazing
when
you throw that much power at it. What you can cut through.
Yeah, so with the newer lasers, more power is more speed, but then without automation, you're stuck.
Right.
Because it took you a half the time to cut that sheet, but if you don't have automation or a sort system, you're back in the same game where you have to have more labor to get those sheets out and keep feeding that machine.
The automation you are talking about is really more physical automation of part of loading, unloading, but you also are being constrained in quoting and in getting parts out the door from a software standpoint. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so software is also something that as much automated as you can will be easier because you have your quoting process, which we already talked about, is important. We need to get a quote out, especially if you're looking for the rush orders. So that requires some sort of automation, automated software to get that quote. And also once we got that job, that has to go to the shop floor. So it has to have a way of nesting with current jobs by due date. So you have to find software or create your own, which sometimes is the case, where you have to create your own production software or you create your own automatic nesting software. So those come along with the automation. So you have the hardware, and then you need software support, and vice versa. So you need both to be able to keep growing and compete.
So on the shop floor, I saw a computer with an Excel spreadsheet that you're using for scheduling, and that surprised me because you are using a ERP
system,
and that, let's not go into names, but if you can just share why you are using an Excel spreadsheet rather than a name brand ERP system for scheduling, what the challenge is for you there.
I think the challenge is when the ERP systems, or the one we have, they are more into a machine shop environment where you're machining one part at a time. So you have a job number that's created or a number that's created so you can log in tell what operation you're going to do and get the job going. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with that process. But when we do sheet metal on a laser, you're doing 20 different parts on the same sheet of material. But every part creates a new number.
Yep.
So the struggle we have is having all those logged in at the same time. That way we can track it better. And we were not able to find a good medium that we can do that. And
it takes too long.
Exactly. By the time my guy input all the information, that job's done. So he has to. So he's going to spend more time. Some jobs are like that. We're doing 3 parts, and 3 parts are the same material thickness, but they have 3 part numbers. By the time he's done, and then down the line, the next guy over, the inspection, and then your deburring, or if you have secondary ops, he has to do that again 3 times. And the way we created a way where we track the work order on the spreadsheet. So he goes to, I'm starting this work order now, and this process we're using is this water jet or laser, because most likely it's going to start on the cutting table. And that's how it was a lot easier. He created that process. We created that simple process that tracks by date. So we have the due dates that keep moving up.
Have you looked at Airtable at all? Have you heard of that?
No.
It is a combination between a spreadsheet and a database. And people are using it for some really innovative things. There's also a couple other companies that are very similar to it. I was just curious about it.
It's more of because it'd be more of an Access database where you can create some formulas.
Now you're going over my head, but
these are ERP systems, are all Access database, most of them.
Right. The Airtable is not a ERP system. It is they want to be sort of a cross between SQL and Excel, if I can put it in my very simplistic terms. And they also allow to bring in web elements so that you have a lot of flexibility in what you can control. I don't know if it would have an application, but it's something that I think you don't have to be a programmer to use it.
Yeah, and that's what you don't want.
Right.
You don't want to spend a lot of time training for a simple procedure. And some of these ERP softwares are very complicated.
Are you looking? Have you found any programs out there that are maybe more sheet metal or laser or water jet focused that you might be able to just plug in from a scheduling standpoint, or anything that's on the radar?
It's something on the radar. We found the programming part of the software where you can have your sheet metal being automatically nested, especially on our fast-moving schedule, where you have new jobs coming in and they are fitting. So we're fitting a software, and he's nesting based on what's coming in and due date and material type.
So it's a dynamic nesting?
It's a dynamic nesting.
Whose software is that?
It's Metamation. So they call Metamation Enterprise, which is so you throw in your DXF files, your parts in there, and they have to be good. So they have to make sure that they have no issues. That's the other problem we have, making sure customers supply us with good files, step files or DXF files. So once you have those, let's say everything is good, you can feed the system where you can have the system fish through your folders. Okay, so I have my orders folder. Where you put those files there by due date, and as soon as it goes there, it goes through this enterprise system where it's going to look through what's the material type, the quantity, and see if any open jobs or sheets are the same material, and it will re-nest that sheet automatic. So that saves you time coming back to the programmer, and most likely what's going to happen is you just don't do it.
Right.
You go in, you start a new sheet, so you don't optimize the material.
Correct. Gotcha. And have you found a solution for the estimating and quoting? Because I saw that you have embedded in your website.
Yeah. So estimating and quoting, paperless, we're going through the process. We've been using for about a couple of months. We've known for a longer time. And we find it useful. We're trying to get we're fine-tuning the way we're quoting through the website, what quotes come in, and trying to see where customers are missing the point of using the system, the software. where they can upload the except for step file and get almost like an instant quote. So that helps a lot.
Do you find that customers want to use a web form to send in an RFQ, or do most of them still like just to email it in?
I think the new generation goes through the website all the time, regardless if they have a number. Because I have customers that been our account customers for a long time, and they have new people coming in, and they just use the forms. They go through the form, they upload all your files, the quantities, and put the notes. And
so, if you didn't have a online RFQ form, do you think you would lose potential quoting opportunities from younger customers?
I think so, because young customers.
My suspicion is
yes, they want
but
pricing right now.
It's not how I think, but that's
I think it as long as it's easy to use. I mean, you cannot spend too much time, especially if you're only looking for one or two parts, and you have a really tight deadline.
Yes.
So you almost want an instant quote, that's our end goal, where we fine tune the software good enough, the platform good enough, where the customer can have that pricing right away. And it's doable. It will take some time to get it fine tuned, but it's definitely doable. And the issue will be syncing all that information to our ERP system or whatever system we use to create your routing. And then from your routing, it goes to the enterprise software where you'll send those parts to available sheets. So there's a sequence, a good sequence to make it efficient.
The good news is you've been doing this long enough.
Yeah.
And I certainly did. The technology is only getting better, because if you think back 10 years ago, a lot of these tools didn't exist. Your only options were desktop, and it was harder to get information. Correct.
Yeah, no, nowadays it's definitely easier.
Yeah.
You get all the information you need online.
So any other challenges that come to mind that somebody who might be thinking about starting a shop could get whacked upside the head without knowing about?
Well, everybody says it takes 5 years to become a business. And when you're starting it and you think you're going to be rich within 2 years, at least we did. I'm not, that's a true story. But it's just, it takes that's what they say. It's not a number that they put out there. It will take you a good 5 years to get a customer base built if you're doing everything right. And from 5 years, and then you got to keep up, not only built, because you also have to keep up that quality and everything you're doing to get to the 5 years. And then you get to a new challenge where we are still growing. Then you got to make sure you grow organized. And that's through automation, software, everything that comes together. But it's a long process, and it's a 24-hour process. Being a business owner is 24/7. No matter what area in business you are, you're always working for your company. It's you might be on vacation, but it's really hard to shut it off. At least for me. So it's a commitment you have to make to be your own boss and have your company, because you're committing to your customer base. If you don't deliver, they go away. And there's plenty of options out there. There's plenty of water jet shops, plenty of sheet metal fabrication shops just like us that are out there competing with us. And
as you start to grow and you bring people on board, now there's an obligation they've got families. You want to make sure that you don't put them in a tough spot.
Yeah, you want to make sure you have work for everybody that works under your company now.
So it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, and that's one thing. That's why I said that you don't shut off, because you have to make sure if you have a slower week, you get worried about it. But then you're too busy, then you worry about too. So there's no.
You're worried if you got too much business. You're worried if you
don't have a lot. So it's always a constant challenge. But you have to be ready for. Otherwise, you can on your day job, you can just go do your work and go home. You have your weekend off or you have your vacation. With a business, you never know what's going to happen. But through automation, through online quoting and software, you can get some of that done for you. And that's what we've been looking for the last couple of years, probably. Because it's hard to find a product that will fit all your needs. So you have to find product that can at least supply with both the majority of your problems. Because without software and good equipment, good people, you're going to get stuck.
I'm going to switch gears here.
Sure.
I'm just thinking, you do work for a lot of not end-use customers, but for other shops.
Correct.
And if I was a machine shop owner, where might I use a company like yours to help me be a better job shop, in the sense that you could do laser cutting or water jet cutting for me? So where are some of the, let's be specific, in machine shops, how do they use your services to make themselves a better shop?
So the best way to do is blanking, where we can have them a rougher profile of the shape they're looking for. If it's a rectangular shape, most likely they're going to do it in-house. But if you have more of an L shape or organic shape part, that's where the water jet or laser come in, where you can get a net shape. Most times we get a net shape and then just machine everything, all the internal cutouts.
So the material suppliers do that, but I suspect they're not as fast as you.
Correct. Yeah, because they've been doing that. Every material supplier now probably has a water jet. Some of those have lasers, but they just can't keep up with the lead times and or quality or both. But we have that issue where you still need that 2-3 parts that has to be. You still have to machine a lot of it. You still have to treat it somehow and deliver to your customer on time.
When we were walking through the shop floor, I saw your Vertec inspection machine, and that made me think, okay, what's the bed on that? It looks like it's about 4x4, so it fits into the smaller part size again.
Correct.
Those are pretty expensive machines.
Yes. Yeah.
Why did you make that purchase?
So we wanted to make sure every part that goes out this door has been inspected, regardless of we're not an ISO company, but we want to. We're planning on being one, and so we want to create a good habit for scanning parts, and also not rely on people measuring, because one people measure different than the other. So we want to rely on a machine that has good tolerances, and also pass it on to our customer that he's.
So do you give them the customer the inspection?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Everything goes out with the inspection report, and they don't ask for. So they know the parts being inspected. We keep a record on that job file,
right?
And we inspect everything that goes out the door, and that helps us a lot, because sometimes we might be missing one tiny hole on that part that it happens.
Sure,
it didn't cut through. And that's how you pick that up. You pick that up. The one missing item.
You just have made it a blanket policy. Every single part goes through.
Every job goes through.
Every job, okay. Yeah, obviously you can't inspect every part, but
yes. Every single job goes through that machine, regardless of customer require or not. It goes through with a report, and that's how we can give confidence to our customers. Some of those don't require, but it's when you see a inspection report done, you trust. I would say you would trust more, or pass it on, so you know your parts have been inspected, not just being thrown on a table, cut, and shipped out. And we also make sure
part of what I always called being a frictionless supplier, meaning there's so many other suppliers out there that they have to worry about, that if they can count on you to give them good parts on time at a fair price, then they will continue to give you work because they've got too many other people to worry about. So
Correct.
You sort of slide under the radar.
Yeah.
You don't. It's sort of funny, but in my mind, you don't want to you don't want a lot of attention as a
No,
supplier.
you don't want to red flag your quality inspector for sure.
Yeah, you just want to slide in.
Exactly.
Yep. ACP.
They know it came in inspected. They know it's footprint, and
Right.
We make sure that how it goes out. So our rework rate is very, very, very low compared to the number of parts we go through the shop, and that's why we get repeat business and referrals. After some 10 years in business, you definitely start getting a lot more referrals.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation, Carlos. Thanks for hosting us at your shop, giving me a tour, introducing me to some of your team folks. You've really accomplished a lot since you've come to the U.S., and I commend you on that. And you didn't speak English when you came here.
Very little.
Very little, sure.
Very little.
Be like dropping me in Brazil and saying, okay, figure out how to make it work, Jay.
Yeah, with not a lot, with $400.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
Yeah. So it's inspiring to me. I hope others are inspired by your story and encouraged to start a shop if that's what they want to do, or if they're struggling, to remind them that it's not easy and that it takes the 5 years. So I really appreciate you being open about it. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I like the opportunity to talk to people like you that have been there, done that, and talk to people that are thinking about or in the third year and they think it's hard work. If you do your job, you hard work, and you take care of your customers, you're going to make it.
I also would like to ask the listeners that if you have solved the scheduling problem with a piece of off-the-shelf software, please reach out to Carlos and share a solution that will make his life a lot easier so he doesn't have to use Excel.
Yeah, that would be appreciated. Yeah. Anything that helps.
Well, thanks for tuning in today. If you like the show, please spread the word, leave us a 5-star review, and follow us on LinkedIn. This is an exciting time for custom manufacturing. Thanks for sharing the journey with us. Have a great day.